in 1119, there is a devastating attack on Christian pilgrims.
You have this group of 700 pilgrims traveling from Jerusalem to the Jordan River. This is where Jesus was baptized. This is a holy river. And these pilgrims are attacked. 300 are killed, and then 400 go into slavery.
It is the spark that incites one warrior to create one of history's most notorious fighting groups, the Knights Templar.
Hugh de Payens is a knight from France. He is traveling in the Holy Land, and he sees that pilgrims are dying, and he wants to do something about it.
Hugh goes to the King of Jerusalem with an idea of creating this order of holy warriors. King Baldwin II needs all the help he can get, so he receives this idea with open arms. The official mission of the Knights Templar is to protect pilgrims on the roads into Jerusalem.
The order starts small.
Hugh de Payens organized 9 men, and this was the beginning. Baldwin II gives them a headquarters, which they believe is the original Temple of Solomon. And this gives them their name, the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon. And nobody wants that entire mouthful, so they just call them the Templars.
And for the first 10 years, they don't really grow very much, maybe to 30 at the max.
Then, in 1128, Pope Honorius II grants a papal sanction to the Knights Templar, declaring them to be an army of God.
When the Templars hear that this has happened, this is the catalyst that helps take them from a small, obscure group of knights to a fighting force that can tip the balance of power in the Holy Land.
But only the select few have what it takes to be a Templar. Recruits initially come from Europe's elite families, men already trained as skilled and deadly fighters.
They are members of the nobility who already start out as knights. They are trained as knights from the time that they are young men.
The offer by the Pope and by the Church to young men all over Europe is, if you join the Knights Templar, the slate is wiped clean. And you also have a fast track into heaven, into eternal glory. And it's after that a lot of people want to join.
As their fame increases, so too does their wealth.
When the European elites hear what these knights are doing, they start making material donations to these knights. Now, this is in the form of land, this is in the form of castles. Wealth and power increases, manpower increases, influence increases.
By the middle of the 12th century, they're one of the wealthiest and most powerful orders, really institutions in Christendom.
But that's not the whole story. A mercenary fights for money, but a soldier who's truly effective is fighting for the homeland, or for king and country, or for God, in the case of the Knights Templar, and you don't get a much higher ideal than God.
The Templar warrior's mission requires courage, sacrifice, and training for the brutal battles that will be waged for the Holy Land. By the late 12th century, Muslim armies have grown in power under the great Sultan Saladin, posing an ever-increasing threat to the Order of Templars.
The Templars are such an awesome force, and they bring such terror to Saladin soldiers that the only good Templar for Saladin is a dead Templar. All of them, once they're caught, are put to death.
Routinely facing overwhelming odds in the Holy Land, the Templar must outmaneuver his enemy.
The genius of the Knights Templar is that very often they are outnumbered. They are, after all, occupiers of the Holy Land, and yet it's the way they operate that secures them victory at the end of the day.
This is perhaps never truer than at the Battle of Montgisard.
The prelude to the Battle of Montgisard is that the Templars have headed north to engage the enemy up near Syria. Now Saladin sees an opportunity.
Saladin decides this is a perfect opportunity to bring his huge Saracen army up from Egypt in the south and capture a relatively undefended Jerusalem. And he's going to field this very large Egyptian army. On the low end, it was maybe 12,000 men. On the high end, it could have been 23,000.
Standing between Saladin and the Kingdom of Jerusalem is its young ruler, King Baldwin.
King Baldwin IV is a teenager. Sadly, he suffers from leprosy, a massively debilitating and then untreatable disease.
When Baldwin learns that Saladin plans to attack his unprotected kingdom, he only has a few hundred Templar knights at hand.
Baldwin thinks that he has no chance. He withdraws into Ashkelon with his forces, and he hides out there. When Saladin sees that King Baldwin is hiding in Ashkelon, he thinks, okay, the kingdom really is kind of defenseless. This is perfect. I can spread my army out, start sacking the villages, we can burn territory.
With a vast Saracen army drawing closer to Jerusalem, the young king and his detachment of Templars leads a small Christian army to confront Saladin.
Baldwin forms whatever army he can, and this amounts to maybe a few hundred knights and then a couple thousand infantry. So we compare this to Saladin's army. He greatly outnumbers what seems like an insignificant Crusader force.
But he rallies the forces around him, and the one thing he does is to bring out the true cross. This is the cross, the wood on which people believed Jesus was actually crucified. It is the most sacred relic in Jerusalem, and to bring it out is to inspire people in a way that we can't imagine. So long as they see their standard flying, they stay there. They're not going anywhere else. They're going to fight until the last man.
King Baldwin and the Templars forge a plan to intercept Saladin's forces at a place called Montgisard.
The Templars and Baldwin decided to try to lure Saladin himself to follow them into kind of a trap. And this is crucial. Saladin decides, okay, well, the king is out here trying to do something, but he's just got a few hundred knights with him, whatever, let's go take him down. So Saladin follows Baldwin and the Templars, and they lead him to this area close to Montgisard. This is an area that is pretty marshy, and in fact, once Saladin gets there, his baggage train becomes bogged down in the mud.
This isn't just food and supplies, it's also weaponry, and he's just taken his eye off the ball. Once they got Saladin exactly where they want him, the Templars charge directly at Saladin with insane courage. Saladin cannot believe what he's seeing coming at him.
As the Templar fighting box advances on the enemy, it opens, unleashing the full force of the Templars. The warrior monks charge into battle.
The fighting box is like a wall of metal and horse coming at you. Saladin's soldiers don't know what to do. It is a disaster for Saladin.
It's a devastating execution of the tactics the Templar has perfected. The ferocity of the Crusaders on the battlefield provokes panic in the enemy, and the bulk of Saladin's army flees.
Saladin's able to escape by jumping onto a racing camel and riding away, but his army is destroyed. They're being chased down by the Crusaders, so this is a crazy multi-day slaughter.
Everything that the Knights Templar are about comes into play at the Battle of Montgisard. All their tactics, everything that's in the rule book, it just gets displayed beautifully